Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Hey, hey.
Good day.
Good day.
I really do enjoy us having our conversations. And I hope that people have other people that they get into contact with, that they can have conversations that you always feel uplifted afterwards. Because sometimes we'll come together and I know that I'll feel heavy. And it's like you are such a trooper because you stay in your energy and then we go throughout our conversation and there's always a shift. There always is. So I'm very grateful because I not everybody gets to go out and have these kind of conversations. I hear people talk about it all the time, even to the point where, and if we listen to our intuition, that's part of the whole guidance. It's part of all of this. I had a client recently, and he's a man, and it's like there's information coming through, and it's like I'm at a point I don't know if it has to do with how many you know, how long I've been here on this planet this time around or anything like that. But my give a crap is, and it's not like crap. My emotional feelings about how I feel if I'm going to hurt someone's feelings, because I'm going to always come from the heart. From what I say, it's not. It doesn't matter how I brought it out or not. It doesn't matter how they perceive it. It matters how I'm presenting it or for myself. How does it feel for me? Does this feel good? Well, I was receiving information and I shared it with this person that never talks. And he's like, we get done. And he says, that was the most therapeutic massage I've ever had. He walked away feeling lighter, but because I trusted my intuition and went ahead and shared the information. And the fun thing is for me is knowing that it's not my information. It's not my words that I would typically use. Because one of the words that came through was rigid, which you said as well during the video. So it reminded me. So it's being in that space and recognizing it. And if I had stayed in the space of fear, the people pleasing, not wanting to be seen, because it's scary. Let's face it, people. It was scary for me to do that because it's like I didn't want this person to judge me for the stuff that I'm giving to him. And it's like, what if I'm wrong? Or what if this or what if that? And it's like I can't, that all doesn't feel good. And the only way that I can evolve and move forward that makes me feel good is by sharing the information and coming from a space of love. That's all that I can do. And when I was doing these massages, my focus was on my heart and my breathing and being in that space. And the whole treatment for even for myself, I could notice a difference of depletion or not depletion. I could notice a difference of being uplifted or feeling tired. I could notice all these things. And I felt uplifted. I felt guided. I felt full. I felt like I wasn't pouring from myself. It was pouring through me. It was just so different. And on the perspective of the whole thing. And I was I was really enjoying doing my job. I enjoy my job anyways, but this was a whole nother level that I've never had the experience of. Why? Because I decided not to be afraid, or even I was still afraid, but I decided not to let it stop me or to control me. I just went ahead and just allowed myself to be myself. And it turned out to be okay. Thank God. No. But seriously, it gets kind of scary out there to do some of those things. Because we don't, because why? Because I've been that kid in the classroom that you said something wrong and somebody else laughed at. That's why I quit asking questions. That's why even around the house with the parents, you learn to survive. And I guess I'm kind of past the point of survival because I'm going to be here for as long as I'm going to be here. I've managed to last 55, 56 years. See, I'm going backwards. I keep saying I'm 54, so I'm getting all confused about my numbers anymore because it doesn't matter. Because that's the thing that I'm realizing. It doesn't, that stuff doesn't matter. Life changes and you release the stress off your shoulders. And maybe that's why I can start recognizing other things that are happening because there has been so much shedding. It's not easy. It's not always easy. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's easier to look at it afterwards and see why it's so easy now. I can walk through that a little bit differently or see that a little bit differently. We take that weight off of ourselves. All this crap that we've been carrying around on ourselves for our whole lives, that's so unnecessary.
When I started my journey of healing myself mentally and emotionally, I had a grasp on my limitations, like arguing for my limitations. Yeah, but he did this and they did that. And and we've always done this, and it's just hanging on to all that was and all that I learned from others and all the trauma and drama experiences I had. And it was their fault, the shame, the blame, right? And then the shame and the guilt associated to like the whole package. And I look back when I started my journey of wanting to be different, do something different, not be so angry. Um, and the amount of interactions that I had with mentors at the time and them trying to tell me something, but I couldn't hear it because I was so clouded with my limitations and my experiences. I couldn't hear them. I couldn't understand, really. I couldn't understand what it was they were trying to tell me. What I didn't do is just throw my hands up and say, this doesn't work for me. I kept going back, asking the questions, and they kept telling me the same shit over and over and over, which was frustrating, but I couldn't hear them. I couldn't absorb their teachings. Reading the books, I read over 100 books, all pretty much saying the same thing, but I couldn't process it. I got the pieces I needed that could click in that moment that, that seep through the crack, the very thin crack that was there that I could like, oh, okay, I get that. Over 100 books, reading the same stuff over and over and over again, just different authors. And now, encountering students, people, really people asking me questions after teaching a 1 hour class, telling them, giving them a tools, helping them understand this is what you've been doing. You want something different. Here's what you can do. But you have to practice it. You have to implement it. You have to take time to do it, right? Very gentle, explain the whole thing, and after class have somebody come up to me and say, I don't know what to do. And reiterating what we just went over in class. But she's hanging on to her limitations so strongly. It was like her body was sitting in the class,
Mhm.
but she was just completely disconnected and not taking in not a word of what I said. And then when class was over, asking me the same questions I had already answered in the class. And sometimes what I'm finding is I too need to remember where I was because in me, I wanted to grab her and just say, "Did you hear a fucking word I said?" And just be like, let's shake this energy up so you can hear me. Um, and I did get a little abrupt with her. I said, "Listen, you're arguing for your limitations. You're not hearing anything I'm saying, and you're not willing to do something different. There's nothing I can do for you." Like, I got a little agitated with the conversation. And then there's another person around on a regular basis saying similar. We've had multiple conversations, and there's been some. Like, I've pulled back again. Just talking about pulling my energy back because this is not my responsibility. It's not my job to fix this. She's asked the questions I've answered. She's asked the questions I've answered. Like, this has been going on for months. And now I'm just like, what I've noticed is she has also attended some of my classes, but she is not willing to look at herself. It is not an option. She's sitting in the class, she's thinking about everybody else this could help. She is not willing to look at herself, and she is distracting the other students, having conversations about stuff that's not even pertaining to the class. So she's just a huge distraction. And I'm just about ready to tell her, don't come to my class. I'm like, I'm at that point. Just don't even come because you're doing a disservice for me and the people who are there for the class. Like, I'm almost at that point. And now she's going and having conversations with other people and same things, same conversations over and over again. And it's just like, my point is we got to take a look at ourselves. We have to start with ourselves. We have to look at ourselves. And that is one of the hardest things of starting a healing process with anything is looking at yourself. Because we want to believe our belief system is we didn't do anything wrong. And that is a true statement.
Mhm.
I agree with that. And you're also choosing to be the people pleaser, the fixer, the control freak, making things your responsibility that's not yours. You're being an enabler. Like looking at what is it you're getting from the experience because you're getting something. Otherwise, you wouldn't be getting involved in it. So, what part is my responsibility? And we don't want to look at that. That's the
Yeah, and
hardest thing.
it is the most important factor. It is the only factor, honestly. There, it really is. It's the only factor. And it's because people don't realize as soon as you start blaming somebody or something for something, you're throwing your power, you're throwing your energy to something. You're not going to feel lifted up. You're going to feel depleted. You're not going to feel peaceful. Those are all the opposite. And that's how you know, hey, I can look at this differently. And it's like asking your team within inside of you, like, man, I keep asking Amy all these questions, but she just doesn't get me. She doesn't understand where I'm coming from. She's going to figure it out, but we got to start asking the questions within ourselves to figure these things out. It's not someone else's responsibility. And then my mind processes up things a few different ways. You know, her talking to you, she probably would benefit more from a one-on-one conversations. She doesn't seem like she's into the group because it's so easy for her. I've had a few people that have been like that, but on the other side, that I would say I've had a few people that have been like that, a client, and we're no longer in each other's lives at all because every time we would come together, I could shift the energy or I could match the energy. I would shift the energy and the conversations would be great and we'd have a great interaction. A lot of things happen, but if we recognize in those moments, we're planting seeds. That's all that it is for them to start going and asking questions. And now I'm not available for this person any longer. So they have to go because I'm not going to enable this behavior. It's not my responsibility. It's their responsibility. So I pull back. So many different things that were popping into my head just as you were saying that, really. And all we can do in that moment is just to raise the frequency, and it reminds me of healings. There was that movie, I don't, maybe it was Mary Magdalene movie, where she actually, in the beginning of the movie, she's laying down with this woman that's giving birth, and she's breathing with this person. We can help people, and that's a healing. We can help people and shift them in that moment, but whatever they do with it, once they leave your environment, once you've healed somebody, I think they would say, Jesus would say, go forward and don't speak of this to anybody, basically, in those kind of words. Because as soon as you go forward and you bring it forward again, you start bringing the whole story back again, you've created all this duress with inside self or joy, because you could do it the other opposite side of that. So it's like, it's just recognizing those moments. All we are in that, it's just that moment. It doesn't matter what they do after it. It doesn't matter if they change or don't change. We gave an opportunity for them to feel something different. We planted seeds. That's it. That's because we're guides. Because I'm not the guru for up that's going to sit up on a hill for you to come up over and seek my wisdom all the time for whatever. I'm just going to guide you right back into yourself because otherwise I find myself, because I've been that person that has looked to somebody else for that guidance and information. And the more that you do, then it's like if I okay, well now I'm having another problem. I need this taken care of right now. And then we become dependent. We're now codependent on something or somebody else. And that's not leading the person back within to themselves. That's the most important journey. We've got to be able to look at ourselves, like you said. It's not a matter of blaming somebody else. You read all those books and they said the same thing over and over again. And because you had the strong desire, it sounds like this woman does too, strong desire to be something different, but don't know how to be something different, and not even recognize that you're at a level or a frequency that's not allowing for possibility. It's very limited. You said cracked open, and the first thing that my mind heard was that cracking open of the heart, right? You'll see all these things. It says when your heart cracks open, you're allowing the light to come in. We're only in that crack. Maybe it's a teeny tiny, you can't even get a hair into that crack, but it's still allowing a shift to happen. So then it allows for a bigger shift to happen. And then until you realize there's nothing that's on the, it's like you broke out of the shell, you made it. And it's an egg, a chicken can't do it with help. If you help them out, you're doing a disservice. You've got to allow the process of us to break forward from our hearts, not you, but everybody. You have to give yourself that grace to allow yourself to have that, because each time you're allowing a little bit more of that shell to chip away, and your whole life is going to shift. Everything shifts from that space. It's glorious. I've been experiencing it. I get emotional. My eyes start watering and stuff. It gets silly, but it's like I enjoy it. It feels good. That's how I know that I'm going in the direction I'm meant to go.
And that's pretty key too, is just it's what feels good to you may not feel good to me. So what
Yeah.
is um what is the benefits that I'm receiving within myself that is easing those heavy emotions to put me on a path where it there's just a little bit of ease, there's a little bit of joy, there's a little bit of feeling safe, and keep doing that and build that up. It's like building up a muscle. You have to keep practicing it because but I have practiced for so many years, still over half my life, practicing how to be angry and frustrated and irritated and shameful and full of guilt and critical and judgmental. I practiced that for so many years. My system has to learn something new, and I have to practice it for it to get more and more, get stronger within myself so that it is more relevant and more apparent and more easily accessible than the way I was. But without the practice, you're going to remain the same. You're going to keep doing the same things, making the same decisions, attracting the same people, having the same conversations. I had a client that I just had recently had a conversation with, and she's like, "Well, I'm doing really well. I am being successful, and there are these people that they're not supportive, and they're you know basically trying to pull her back." And she said, and the more I change, the less I want to be around them, and the less conversations we have. And I said, well, yeah, it's not your alignment anymore. You're not in vibrational alignment with those people anymore. And they will start moving away, like creating distance, less conversations, less phone calls, less coffee dates. Like it's because your energy is shifting. And what happens though is as they move out, it makes room for the new. And I said, when I was hanging out in the bars, when I was in those lower vibrational emotional frequencies, I had all kinds of friends, girl. I was like, I knew people. I go out in public. I knew people all over the place. And then when I took the hiatus and I pulled back, I wasn't going to the bars, not drinking as much, just really working on myself to be different. They're acquaintances, and I have zero uh commonalities. Those are the conversations where it's like Hey, how are you? Great. How's kids? Fine. Man, what about this weather? Like I can tell you when I go up to talk to somebody, that's exactly how our conversations are going to go. How are you? How are the kids? How's your spouse? On to the weather. And to me, when you get to the weather, the conversation's over. We're done. Like, oh, moving on to the next. Now I'm going to go have this conversation again over here with this other person. So, same conversation. But I said, my circle is very small of people that I have these meaningful conversations with. Obviously, it's so obvious. Bev is one of them because we do this all the time. Um, but all the other relationships are very surfacey.
I have a very small circle as well. It's interesting. It really is interesting. It's because there's so many shifts that happen. People come into your experience and people go out, and then some of those people will come back because they'll have evolved. Maybe, maybe they were staying stuck for, because of you being in that situation. Who knows? Like, oh, but Amy's going to be there. Let's go do it. Let's go see Amy because I was a similar path as you. I don't know hardly anybody anymore. And that's not my journey. I do have a glass of wine here and there, so I do like a glass of wine lately. But I went for a long time without it, but I'm in a different energy, and so my feelings about all of it is more neutral. So I find myself enjoying things. I feel like that's part of our evolution too, if I'm going to add that to the conversation, because when we shift and some of these things that were, that's a no, that's a negative, that's a whatever. I feel like all those things need to come into a neutrality so that you no longer have anything to learn from them either way. And it just kind of falls away from you anyways. And then you go on to the next thing. You learn something new. It's this, I'm just kind of more and more fascinated about just the journey that I'm on, just the experiences that I notice, just even when I'm angry. Like yesterday I have my moments, people. I have my moments, but they're not like they were. And it's like now I don't go discuss it with the person or with anything else. But I might not, I might walk around outside. We got a generator going. No one can hear shit when that's going on. So I might be rocking around like F this and F that and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. But I feel better afterwards. And I didn't dump it on into anybody. I allowed myself to release. I allowed myself to have a voice for my little girl inside of me that had felt hurt or felt whatever. I'm allowing that to happen, but I'm giving safe places, me and her. We're not sharing it with somebody else. We're talking about it on the inside. I'm helping her walk this path and recognize that it's not necessary to carry all this stuff. And then to also point out how silly some of it is, the things that I might believe or the things that I might have perceived growing up that I think that that's the way that it is, and I recognize it. When you start rationalizing, or you start using your wisdom and looking at this, and it's like, but Nikki, does that make sense? Do you think that that would really be the process? Do you think that's really true? And it's like you don't know until you sit with yourself, and that's what I've been doing a lot of. And I can recognize those that can't sit with themselves. And I would probably even use the person that's coming into these groups, keeping themselves busy, trying to fix things, trying to do everything else. But it's like it's because it's a distraction from having to deal with, or not having to deal with, but not knowing how to process everything that goes on inside of them. Because I didn't know what to do with it for 50 something years, it seemed like. And
Yeah.
now it just seems like the more that I let go and float downstream, that my journey is a lot easier, even when even when I feel like there is a hiccup.
Yep. And I would say if you want to be different because you're not happy with your, like I got to a point I didn't even like myself. I didn't even want to be with myself because I was such a bitch and so unhappy. And I was trying to make everybody else feel as unhappy as I was. And that's what we do. We want people to be in alignment with how we're feeling. So then we can be on the same page of validating each other of how right we are and how wrong everybody else is. Um, and so I knew I didn't like me, and if I didn't like me, why would anybody else like me? I would look in the mirror and say that. I don't like you, and why would anybody else like you? Why would anybody else want to take the time to love you on the level of love that you want? So that was a something I had to come to terms with in myself. And I also was the one who had to make the shift, the changes, do something different, think differently, act differently, speak differently, choosing my words, being very aware of my thoughts. That was all on me. I had to learn that. That wasn't just some natural thing that came to me. I had to learn it, and it took a long time for me to grasp it. So, this is why Bev and I come together is to have these conversations so you understand one, we still go through shit. We are not immune to it. Uh, we, we, however, look at ourselves first. We might get triggered by something and go, well, why did they do that? But then it's like, no, why is it affecting me? Why am I allowing it to affect me? So it's a shift, like fast. And we also have tools that and techniques that help us move through things quicker because we have been practicing this for a very long time and we utilize our tools. So if you want something different, if you want a different way of being, if you want to embrace life with more joy, that good news, bad news, it's your responsibility. Bad news, it's your responsibility. Good news, it's your responsibility. However, it's about perspective. It's however you see that statement could be a negative or a positive. It's up to you. In the beginning, my word was fuck. I have to do this, right? Like I took it as a negative. When I take it as a positive, oh, it's my responsibility, which means I have the power, which means I get to do it, and nobody else can tell me how, when, where, or why. But they're going to offer up the information for me to embrace it so I can move forward and do something different and feel differently. So that's all on me. And even to this day, even though I get triggered by people, it is still my responsibility on how I want to feel, no matter what they do, no matter what they say, no matter how they think, no matter what their reactions are. I get to choose how I show up, and that's on me. Total responsibility. Anything to add to that before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I would say because it's that all that you just said is very freeing. It's very freeing of yourself. It's very freeing for me to know that I don't have to do something that somebody else wants me to do. It's very freeing to know that someone doesn't have control over me. I don't have to give them my control and think that they know what's best for me. It's all that's very freeing. It's very freeing to be in my own body and my own power instead of walking around feeling everybody else's stuff all the time. And the only way you can do that is by really paying attention to yourself, really loving yourself, really focusing in on yourself, not pushing the blame onto someone else, asking questions with inside self so you can get answers that free you up even more. Because it was never anybody else's job. It was never anybody else's responsibility. It was never anybody else's under anybody else's control unless you gave it to them. That's empowering. I like that. I like to be empowered. I like to know that my decisions are true and what's best for me, and they're not always going to align with somebody else. But I like being able to stand in that power just even to feel good about that because there was times that I wouldn't. There was times that I would wish that I could ask my mom, well, what should I do? It's empowering to know that we have all this guidance what's inside of us and we can make the decisions that are best for us.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Bev. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having these conversations. And we have these conversations because we know it's going to be beneficial for somebody. And we've been doing this for over 6 years now, which blows my mind every time I think about it. But we want to be a resource and have these conversations out loud. We don't plan our conversations, we have organic conversations, and we bring them to the table for our audience. And hopefully, it's beneficial for you. And again, whatever you do with the information is your choice. We can provide it, but we can't do it for you. And nobody could do it for us either. We had to take the initiative to implement what it is we wanted to change within ourselves. And so knowing that that's why we have these conversations, and you can also be resourceful by sharing them with other people that you may know are asking or seeking guidance. So you can find us on many platforms. We're here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spreaker, Spotify, Podcast Addict, and just be resourceful. Share the link with them, or share the book if it was a book you read, or an inspirational person's name. Just help the people along that are on your path that are seeking this similar guidance. So with that, we thank you for hanging out with us. You could have done anything else with your time, and you chose to listen to us. So thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. Leave us a comment, share our videos, and it's tea time with Amy and Bev.
We'll see you next time.